welcome to this week's edition of the Webster Tarpley program. This is Webster Tarpley speaking to you from Washington, D.C. And, of course, it's about 4 p.m. here in the East on the afternoon of Tuesday, the 13th of August. We are approaching the famous midsummer break, the Feriae Augusti, on August 15th, pretty much the middle of the summer, socially and economically speaking. This was, of course, a holiday established in the Roman Empire. Still shuts down Portugal, Spain, France, Italy, Bavaria, most of southern and other parts of Europe. But we are not on vacation. We are fighting. We're in the midst of the campaign to get the Wall Street sales tax enacted in New York City. We are in the process of getting the signatures for Randy Credico. At least his campaign is in the process of getting the signatures, right? Credico already on the ballot for the Democratic mayoral primary in New York City on September 10th. But between now and a week from today, essentially between today, the 13th, and August 20th, Credico will be wrapping up, and his campaign will be wrapping up the struggle, his supporters, to obtain the signatures necessary to put the Tax Wall Street Party on the ballot in New York City in November. So an extra 2 months of agitation to educate New Yorkers that the only way out of their situation, which is not ideal to say the least, is through the Wall Street sales tax. Now we're going to get a report from the campaign, but let's just point out a couple of things. Big news from New York City this week, yesterday in fact, was a federal judge, Shira Scheindlin, a federal district judge, a Clinton appointee, finally pointed out that stop and frisk, as enforced, is unconstitutional. And that is to say, since Mayor Bloomberg, the press baron of Wall Street, or the computer terminal baron of Wall Street, the great facilitator of speculation, the casino economy, derivatives, over-financialization, and what have you. Ever since Bloomberg took over the city 12 long years ago, oh my God, 12 years of the dictatorship of finance capital, the New York City Police has been, essentially for about 10 of those 12 years, the New York City Police Department has been running amok. Good cops made to enforce what Bloomberg calls stop and frisk. And this is essentially a police state. This is racist. It's oppressive. This is unacceptable in anybody's constitutional or simply practical understanding. So the big news from yesterday is that federal judge Shira Scheindlin struck it down as enforced. In other words, not banning stop and frisk, but forcing the police department to change it. And of course, the fact is, Randy Credico is the only candidate, the only one who's been fighting against stop and frisk for his entire career over the past 10 years. The other ones have all made compromises. We'll be back in a minute. All right, welcome back to the Webster Tarpley program here on Unbound Radio. Once again, it's Tuesday, the 13th of August, approaching midsummer, August 15th. The action is in New York City. There is, of course, a Virginia election. There are some interesting things happening in New Jersey now. New Jersey is perking up, but for the moment, this month, it's the focus is on New York City, where the issue is taxing Wall Street and breaking the dictatorship of finance capital. And the dictatorship of finance capital in the hands of Bloomberg is this stop and frisk. You notice reactionaries, right-wing fakers, have focused on, Bloomberg won't let you have a big gulp, or Bloomberg doesn't want you to eat trans fats or something like this. All right, fine. Whatever you think of that. The one clear-cut thing is stop and frisk. Those reactionaries, those Hannitys and Limbaughs and what have you, those opportunists, those Rand Paul and Ron Paul libertarians, they didn't talk too much about stop and frisk that I heard of, right? Their libertarian credentials are in tatters. But Randy Credico has been fighting this for all the 10 years, right? He is a leading activist. He's the former head of the William Kunstler Foundation for Racial Justice. And his line has been very clear. End, stop, and frisk. When we had somebody like Quinn, right, running for mayor in New York, right? Quinn essentially saying that she wanted to, keep the good part of stop and frisk, but then get rid of the bad part. But that's unacceptable, isn't it? That's just trimming. Quinn is a trimmer. Quinn is a clone of Bloomberg. Remember, it was Quinn who set it up so that Bloomberg could have an extra 4 years of dictatorship of finance capital over New York City. That's Quinn. So Credico is the man. The others are all pretending now that they were against stop and frisk. Thompson, who didn't really do that much, even though he supposedly represents the black community, he was not as adamant as Credico. And we also know that some of these others have been unacceptable on it. For example, De Blasio, not willing to, and indeed the question for these people today is, will they join with Credico and demand the end of stop and frisk? Not the improvement, not the mending, not the mitigation or amelioration, but the end. Because what the judge has imposed is a watchdog, and that cops in the precincts that have the most stops have to wear cameras. I think on the whole that may be somewhat unworkable. Much better a bright line prohibition. Much better than this endless morass of rules. A bright line prohibition is what you need on this stuff. So that's Credico. Now let's just take a look at the competition. We want to go to New York and to the campaign in just a minute, but let's take a look for 1 second at the competition. As we said, Christine Quinn is actually the most right wing. She pretends to represent the gay community, but you will find websites which point out that when you had gay activists and indeed individual gay people that were being harassed, arrested, beaten up by the police in this orgy of police state that Bloomberg has contributed to, right? Essentially playing the New York City Police Department against the people, right? Divide and conquer, as Bloomberg would play it, right? Giuliani was able to play the firemen against the policemen at the World Trade Center, but with Bloomberg, it's let's play the police department against the rest of the population. When gay people were on the receiving end of this, where was Quinn? Quinn was nowhere, so she is a faker, even in her own terms, and she turns out to be probably the most right-wing of these candidates because she is the one who says, well, I certainly don't want to get rid of stop and frisk. I want to keep the benefits, but I want to sort of tone down some of the excesses. That's no good. Then we turn to de Blasio, and de Blasio gets a lot of interesting press. He has received the endorsement of The Nation magazine. The Nation magazine. Well, we knew that Katrina vanden Heuvel, the boss, the owner of The Nation, was for de Blasio. He is a pseudo-left candidate. And the idea here is The Nation, well, who is that? Katrina vanden Heuvel's father, William vanden Heuvel, was a New York City politician in the 60s into the 70s. But he started his career as the secretary, the right-hand man of Wild Bill Donovan, the founder of the Office of Strategic Services, meaning the CIA. So this is CIA royalty. So the magazine of CIA royalty now says, vote for de Blasio. Well, maybe that doesn't convince you. Maybe you need more. Well, we have more. As of the 6th of August, George Soros, the left-wing or ultra-left billionaire, right? The finance oligarch, the speculator, the derivatives monger, George Soros has endorsed de Blasio. So we have a clone of Bloomberg, Quinn, running against a clone of Soros, and that would be de Blasio. And we'll give you some rundowns on some of these other candidates in time. But I would recommend you go to the website of Credico. You take a look at what he has here. One of them is, in the early part of the campaign, is a folder with 19 programmatic points. And then at the mature point of the campaign, Credico is running on 24 specific commitments. Many, many benefits. We won't go through all of them now. All paid for by the Wall Street sales tax. A robust 0.5%, or in some people would prefer a 1% sales tax. But in any case, a robust tax on the turnover, the buying and selling, not the profits. No, just the buying and selling like everybody else, right? You sell an item, right? We had this past week, even on Fox News, we had a woman supposedly representing the Democratic Party point of view saying if you buy a pack of chewing gum, you have probably paid more sales tax on a pack of chewing gum than Wall Street pays in a year or ever. And that's because even the New York State version of the Wall Street sales tax is being remitted. It's being refunded to these bandits who are essentially extorting from the state. And it's very interesting. Credico was one of the principal participants in Occupy Wall Street. He was a fixture, according to some, at Occupy Wall Street. Credico has successfully made the transition from the no program, hostile to program atmosphere of Occupy Wall Street. Not that he necessarily saw it that way, but when you went down there, that's what it was, right? We don't have a program. We don't want to have a program. There shouldn't be a program, because once you have a program, you might win it, and then you'd be co-opted, right? Somewhat incomprehensible to the average person. But now, Credico has gone, he's made the evolution from that world to his current campaign, which is the most programmatic. It is a model in many ways. You look at these 24 points, I think, which are on the internet. So he is the candidate who has done the most to inveigh against, to condemn, to focus public opinion on the inherent injustice of stop and frisk. Just a couple of statistics. About 500,000 people were stopped by the cops last year. This is out of all proportion. This is impossible. And, of course, overwhelmingly black, Hispanic, and then I would add the rest of them, if you were white, you were probably pretty poor. So this is race-based, it's ethnically based, and it's class-based. And this is absolutely unacceptable. And the idea, of course, is Bloomberg wants to show that you can intimidate an entire population, fairly radicalized, right, in New York, and you can intimidate them into absolute passivity using these methods. And it just doesn't work. There was a survey, I've looked at a survey for the first 6 or 7 years of this stop and frisk. They stopped over 4 million people. The whole population of the city is, I think, 7 to 8 million these days inside the city limits. You got a situation where you're gonna essentially stop and frisk or question and search for guns and other contraband half of the entire population of the city over a period of half a decade or 6 or 7 years or whatever it was, is absolutely out of proportion, absolutely crazy. And again, I wonder where our wonderful libertarian heroes were. The Leprechaun and Little Rand, where were they? Why weren't they talking about the police excesses under Wall Street's Bloomberg and the unfortunate police commissioner Ray Kelly, who comes into this thing looking like Fouché, I guess, in the French Revolution, right? That infamous police minister, or if you know the opera Tosca, Barone Scarpia, the head of the secret police there, who torments Cavaradossi and Tosca. So this is it. And remember now, the issue is, Credico says to the others, join me, let's all say it must end. None of these half measures. Don't blur the lines. Don't ameliorate. Don't do this, but get rid of it. Because there is no way. It is unconstitutional as enforced. It is, that's for sure. But it's unconstitutional no matter how it's enforced. And it's intolerable. So this is now the situation. So I urge people now, in these 7 days, if you want to get Tax Wall Street on the agenda, if you want to put that on the scoreboard in this world of manipulation, right, where we've got all kinds of people, every intelligence agency has got a whistleblower out there, try to convince you that that you should follow that Pied Piper. I would say, look at the Credico website, and you will see that there's real content there, right? If you're interested in a stop of foreclosures in the city of New York, if you're interested in bus and subway fares for free, my version of that, bus and subway must be free. Who should pay? The bourgeoisie. Now that's not Credico, that's me, but maybe that will take off. City College, Queens College, Brooklyn College used to be for free, and they should be again. The City University of New York was free. Ask the neocons. They'll tell you all about it. That's where they all got college education that lifted those families out of poverty. You got to raise the minimum wage. There should be free health care in New York City, paid for by Wall Street. There should be a very ambitious program of public works. Let's see. Renew our aging infrastructure. Repair rusting bridges. Repave crumbling streets. Potholes. Hey, Al D'Amato, where are you? Refurbish our dank subway stations. Improve rail and bus service. Create local bike lanes. And so forth, right? End the dictatorship. Stop the privatization of the schools. Stop shutting down schools. Stop busting the teachers' unions. Stop closing local hospitals. Protect local businesses, and so forth. This is a fighting populist program. It's an excellent summary of what needs to be done. Check it out, and then we'll tell you what to do in the coming segment. Back in a minute. Welcome back to the Webster Tarpley program here on Unbound Radio. So, in the last segment, I've tried to give you the case for Credico and the case for the Tax Wall Street Party. Credico, Democratic primary on the ballot September 10th. That's if you're in New York City. And then, of course, the effort to prolong that to November 5th and the general election in New York City. And that means 2 additional months of agitation. The big issues: tax Wall Street, roll back all austerity, and go through some of the provisions that I mentioned in the previous segment, and that Credico is the only candidate who has been consistently demanding the end of stop and frisk, not the mitigation, amelioration, reform, not watchdogs or cameras, but finish, all over, ended, Schluss. So that's the idea. So let's, without further ado, go directly to the people who are making the effort now to put Credico on the ballot to get the Tax Wall Street Party on the ballot for November, and that's Daniela Walls. Daniela Walls is famous in her own right as a stand-up comedian, and she has been active as a volunteer in helping out Credico, and this idea of the Tax Wall Street Party is significantly her brainchild. So
we have 7 days left, Webster.
Okay, so this is the theme now. 7 days to shake the world. Take it away, Daniela.
Yeah, we're calling this the 7 days that shook the world. Because when Wall Street's taxed in New York City, I think some are going to think it's the end of the world. But we're begging people to get active now. One of the big developments that's crucial and specific to Randy this week was when U.S. District Court Judge Shira Schindlin declared that the NYPD's stop and frisk policy violated both the 4th and the 14th Amendments to the Constitution.
Right.
Of course, Bloomberg then, right, he's vigorously lashing out now, and he's at the ruling and plans to appeal it. I want to note that all but one of Randy's opponents for this September 10th Democratic primary came out and gave official statements yesterday, and they all stopped short of saying that they will end the city's unconstitutional stop and frisk policy. So even now, they won't say enough, end it. Exactly.
It's always some kind of half measure.
Yeah, some rhetoric. Exactly. Even now they won't end it. So Randy's the only candidate for mayor who emphatically states that he will end this illegal and unconstitutional practice on his first day in office. Right. City Controller John Liu has also called for an end to stop and frisk, but unlike Randy, Liu's support is only very recent and came at the same time when he decided to run for mayor. So Randy is the mayoral candidate demanding a total end to this outrageous unconstitutional abuse by Mayor Bloomberg and Police Commissioner Ray Kelly. For the record, I just want to say Randy is one of America's leading civil rights activists and has been the most vocal critic of this racially motivated stop and frisk policy for over a decade or more. In fact, he was arrested with his friend Dr. Cornel West in October of 2011 while protesting the policy in front of NYPD's 28th precinct in Harlem last year, a couple years ago, when this happened. They locked hands around the precinct and demanded an end to stop and frisk. Then they were all arrested with other activists, including the great Carl Dix. So unlike Liu, Randy is not a Johnny-come-lately to this issue. And Randy has been and is waging a fighting campaign here for New York City mayor. And his candidacy is already yielding positive results for the city. And this was Randy's thing, and it's already coming into fruition. Randy's a real fighter, so true to form, he is not waiting for the inauguration to help the people of New York City. Randy's made it his life's work to help the disenfranchised in New York. His years of work on stop and frisk, I believe, has undeniably led to this issue making its way all the way up to Judge Schindlin's desk here.
Right. He certainly helped to create the climate of opinion in which this was possible. And I think that last point is really critical. A lot of these candidates say, elect me, I'll get into power, and I'll do something for you. Credico says, support me, I'll help you even during the campaign. The very fact of the campaign gets things done. We'll be back in a minute on Unbound Radio. Welcome back to the Webster Tarpley program here on Unbound Radio, our program for Tuesday, the 13th of August. Now, we're still here with Daniela Walls and talking about these interesting developments in the New York City mayoral contest, both for the Democratic primary on September 10th and then for the general election November 5th. Daniela, before we go any further, suppose the combined efforts of you and me have convinced people now that they need to support the Credico effort and the effort to get the Tax Wall Street Party on the ballot. What can people do? How can they contribute? How can they volunteer? How can they inform themselves? Give us the whole picture.
You've started it, but I cannot overstate how pivotal donations are at this moment. You can donate at credico2013.org/donate, credico2013.org/donate. And also, if you visit credico2013.org, there's going to be a donate button on the site. We are supplementing the signatures that our volunteers can't gather with a professional street team of petitioners. We just really need money right now to pay them. They work by the hour, so for an 8-hour day, that's $80, which works out to about 80 to 100 signatures. We need help to pay each petitioner their daily rate. The more signatures that we can turn in by August 20th, which is our deadline, the harder it will be for them to challenge our signatures. So in these next 7 days, we want to make, our effort to make Wall Street pay and also to make Wall Street quake. We need everyone to help us put the Tax Wall Street Party on the November ballot. If you have any questions about the things I'm going to talk about, I talked about or I'm going to talk about, please contact me at taxwallstreetparty@gmail.com, taxwallstreetparty@gmail.com, or call me at 310-926-1584, 310-926-1584. If you immediately are in the New York City area and you want to get out and petition, call the petition team leader and find out where the crew is in real time. They're always moving around, so you're going to have to call his cell phone at 908. His name is Chris, 908-433-3266. If you, and we really need donations, and remember that we only have 7 days, so if you can do anything, please do it now. Just now. That's all I could say. We have 7 days, and we need that money in the hands of the petitioners today. Now.
So 7 days to shake the world. And indeed, taxing Wall Street as an initiative coming up from the sidewalks of New York, that is revolutionary. You want the revolution? This is your chance to contribute, be a part of it, and to follow it. All right,
Webster, we've exceeded our minimum signature requirement. Did you know that?
Great. It's great to hear. But, of course, I speak now as someone who gathered something like 16,000 signatures in 1986 to get on the New York State ballot for the Senate, and I was thrown off by that corrupt New York State, New York City Democratic machine. So you've got to be bulletproof. You've got to have system upon system to prevent them from, denying you your right to participate in the election.
We need everybody who hears this to help us fight. We're a small group of us who have put this together, and we need you guys people to come forward for us now. Yeah, yes. Tell them more. It's really interesting. Tell them more what happened to you.
Well, just what for our purposes now. It's just that I had volunteers and everything, and we gathered, I think more than double the necessary signatures. And the thing about New York City and New York State is it's hyper technical, and there's always some picayune little formality that they enact every political cycle to throw people off the ballot. And the year that I did this, there was indeed a gathering. Mayor Koch invited about 20 or 30 people down to City Hall. He wanted to pretend that he was commiserating with us, right? All sorts of people who were thrown off the ballot under what was known as the Pecoraro formality. But enough of this. Let's get back to the battle. Let's get back to the battle right now.
The same group of volunteers, including myself, who are doing this project now, got Randy the Democratic nomination. And we had a steep learning curve. We had to learn all these little technical rules, and we weren't challenged. We did a good job, but it was tough to learn. So we're following all the rules the same way this time.
Okay,
but right now
it's a team of experienced veterans. But now let's get back to this stop and frisk, because this is really a big thing. This was on all the cable news, all the national TV network news last night. Give us some more about stop and frisk and Credico's unique role.
Well, Credico's really mad, about the reactions and the lip service. And he's passionate about this issue. So during the upcoming debates in these next weeks, are going to be the big national TV debates. And Randy's going to be demanding during these debates that his opponents, Christine Quinn, Bill Thompson, and Bill de Blasio, repudiate their earlier support or tolerance for this stop and frisk and join Randy in demanding the immediate end to this practice once and for all.
And, of course, Wiener, right? Wiener, it's easy to forget about Wiener because he's so obscene.
I'm wanting to forget about Wiener, and he's sliding so far down. He's in a free fall right now. So I keep wanting to forget about him. Yes, and he's going to demand that of Weiner. But my mind likes to pretend he doesn't exist. Okay, but so he wants them to put an immediate end to this now for the freedom and dignity of all New Yorkers. And I'm saying all New Yorkers, not just the wealthy, as has been Bloomberg's standard.
Right.
Remember, and also this stop and frisk decision in New York is a sort of herald for all other unconstitutional Fourth and 14th Amendment violations across the country. Randy said that if his opponents don't revoke their support for this stop and frisk, then he will call for them to drop out of the race. And he's serious. And I'm serious about this. They need to drop out of contention because they are supporters of an illegal and unconstitutional practice. And therefore, in our minds, that nullifies their right to public service.
But let's maybe some specifics about how have these people reacted? How did Credico react, and how some of these Brand X candidates reacted?
Yeah, for instance, Christine Quinn. I was reading their statements and I had to laugh. Who is, she's the one leading in all the polls right now. Issued a statement yesterday stating that she welcomed the ruling and would work closely with the federal monitor as recommended by Judge Schindlin, but she did not say she would end the practice. And she doesn't think that we should end the practice. And she's taking all the Bloomberg lines. Bloomberg made this big press conference about how much stop and frisk has helped with violence and yada yada. Bill de Blasio, he stopped short of saying he would end stop and frisk. He said if elected, he would expand the definition of racial profiling, whatever that means, and install an inspector general over the New York Police Department. Okay, so more, like you say, Gestapo stuff. Bill de Blasio, now he's got the backing of hedge fund billionaire George Soros and the wealthy Vanderhoevels, the guys who own The Nation magazine. These are the same group of supporters of many other pro-war and pro-Wall Street Democratic candidates, including Obama. And we all know how much Obama kept his promises. So right. Soros and his crew are not for the people, and they are not of the people. So some of your listeners, I don't know if some of your listeners might recall, but do you remember de Blasio was picketed by angry members of the building trades unions earlier this year? I don't know if you heard about this.
No, this didn't get outside New York. Tell us the story.
Okay, so de Blasio was picketed by the building trades unions earlier this year when he held a fundraiser at the Toll Brothers headquarters in Manhattan. The unions were upset because the Toll Brothers were planning and used non-union labor as a major project in Brooklyn. And de Blasio is supposedly a pro-labor Democrat. So the unions are really getting to the bottom of what de Blasio is about.
So de Blasio flirts with scab labor and union-busting bosses.
Yes.
Not so good.
So good. And then, of course, there's Anthony Weiner, which you want me to.
I think this is a family show here, so what we can say is limited. The one thing I would say is I know there's going to be a tonight in New York City, Channel 7, the ABC affiliate in New York, is going to have a debate, and they're trying to exclude Credico along with other candidates. And my question to Channel 7 is, if you let Weiner in, on what moral basis can you exclude anybody? If you let this depraved, degenerate Weiner in, how can anybody be excluded?
Well, the Weiner was the worst one on the stop and frisk because he doesn't even want the federal monitor to be there. He said he said we can decide if we need a federal monitor sometime in the future after the election next January. So he's pushing off the federal monitor like Obama is pushing off Guantanamo.
So he's competing with Quinn. And he actually, at this point, Weiner is the heir of Bloomberg even more than Quinn because he wants to keep the policy has to be kept intact with no oversight.
Yeah.
Oy.
Well, he said there's no point in discussing it now. He said we'll push it up to next January. And then whoever's elected should be able to decide if they want to work with this federal monitor. Like that he has the right. What is this? Some sort of everybody's a dictator in Manhattan? Has that just become a separate city state? We
All
can
right.
just
compared to this, Credico is the plain talk express, right? It's simple.
Yeah.
End, stop and frisk. End it.
End, stop and frisk.
Yeah, end it.
End it. Exactly. So, yeah, without question. Just like, close Guantanamo was. End, stop, and frisk. But these guys are all the same as Obama was on closing Guantanamo. Yeah, I promise I'll do it. Maybe when, if, never, et cetera, et cetera. But Webster, we've exceeded our minimum signatures, and I didn't think you were excited enough. I want to tell you we have 4,500.
I'm very excited, but I know from sad experience that you've got to double the minimum, and then you've got to have comprehensive legal overview. We have
4,500, and we want to turn in 7,500.
There we go. 4,500. Well, there's a good number. That's well over the minimum.
That's what I was trying to get to because I wanted to make you happy.
All right, good.
4,500 signatures at the moment.
Daniela, let's take our time. We got about 2 minutes left. Let's go through once again. This is a going concern. What we've learned from you, 4,500 signatures over the minimum. You got experienced veterans like yourself who have been, in this now for months on end. Mm-hmm. How do people get involved? How do they contribute? How do they join? How do they inform themselves? Give us the whole picture again.
Okay, so let's start out again with the fact that we're calling this the 7 days that shook the world. Because, and we're begging the listeners to get active now. If people want to see a new alternative American political party on the ballot, the Tax Wall Street Party, then we need your help. If we are successful putting Randy on the November ballot, it'll be a shot heard around the world. And this will be the week that citizens can say they took financial oligarchs to the mat. This week, right?
Good, absolutely.
This is the week when ordinary citizens succeeded in building something new politically in this country that is not owned by the rich and powerful on Wall Street. Right. We're building this. We have people on the streets right now in the hot sun in New York City who have come from as far away as Lincoln, Nebraska for this. One of them, Dan Burdorf, took time away from important family duties in Lincoln to make the trip to New York City. And right now, Dan needs a New York resident hero. This person will be a hero now who comes to stand with Dan. Dan needs a registered New York voter to accompany him as he gathers these signatures. So if you are this New York
Hang on, Daniela, we got this automatic hard break. When we come back, you got to put it all together for us. Give us the phone numbers.
We'll talk about Stand with Dan.
Okay. All right. Welcome back to the Webster Tarpley program. It's the 13th of August. It's Tuesday, and this is our program titled 7 Days to Shake the World, right? The famous account by John Reed of the Bolshevik Revolution. Well, in our case, it's revolutionary enough, believe me. No rough stuff, but only an election, but revolutionary in the best sense of the word. An effort coming up from the sidewalks of New York, right, from the asphalt of the Big Apple to tax Wall Street, to finally stop this dictatorship of finance capital where the whole city is squeezed like a lemon, everything ruined, to send more loot and primitive accumulation to Wall Street. Now it's going to be the Wall Street people paying back. Think of it as reparations in the best sense. And all this money, by the way, goes into the New York City Treasury for principally for the maintenance of the social safety net, right? The entire system of health, welfare, hospitals, all the public health issues in the city, which are legion, the maintenance of the transport system. And remember, bus and subway must be free. Who should pay the bourgeoisie? So we're joined by Daniela Walls here. Daniela, you got to use the time now. Give us the numbers once more and the emails. People who want to contribute, volunteer, get involved, find out more.
Yeah, got it. To get in contact with me, email me at taxwallstreetparty, TAXWALLSTREETPARTY @gmail.com, or call me at 310-926-1584. If you immediately want to get out and petition in New York City, or stand with Dan, help our friend out, come petition with our crew. And to find out where the crew is in real time, call Chris, the petition leader in New York City, at 908-433-3266. 908-433-3266. If you prefer to donate with a check and you don't feel comfortable using your credit card or what have you online, then mail in a check as soon as possible, because we need to get it and have it clear and cash it. So priority mail. The address is on the website. When you click on the donate link, there's going to be an address. You also need to send your check in with a form. There should be a form on the it says click here. There's so many election rules, so there's a form you need to fill out. It's all clear. It's all explained on the website under the donate button. And then, of course, there's the donate button on Randy's site, creditcode2013.org, and we have 7 days left again. So if you can do this, please. If you can do anything, please do it now. That's what I have to say, Webster.
There we go. All right, fine. So I think that's clear enough. Now, the other thing, of course, is we're hoping that as the time goes by, some of these corrupt institutions that are sponsoring debates and excluding not just Credico, but other candidates. They're Credico and at least three other established candidates. Three candidates whose names are on the ballot, as far as I can see.
Today it was NOW, the National Organization of Women voters, that excluded him. So it's tonight's New York City mayoral debate it's going to be on ABC Channel 7, and it's going to feature the 5, vetted ones that they like,
The 5 Brand X candidates.
Yeah, right. The paid-for ones with their multi-million-dollar Wall Street finance campaigns. Christine Quinn, the Anthony Weiner, Bill Thompson, Bill de Blasio, and John Liu will be on the debate. But Sal Albanese, Eric Salgado, and Randy Credico were excluded by the National Organization of Women. Very, very, very sad. Shame on you, National Organization of Women. The reason being, I got a letter from them and this is hilarious. The letter I got from them, Webster, was that Randy failed to raise the limit of at least $50,000 for his campaign. So basically what they're saying is if you don't have a lot of money in your campaign, even though Randy did with about $5,000, everything that these big guys did with $8, $10, $7 million.
Right.
With $5,000, he did exactly the same thing. He got himself on the New York Democratic primary ticket. Standing out on the street himself, he got everything that they did. While these people had armies of writers and speech writers, and we were sitting there writing his this stuff out of ourselves, and everybody chipped in all of their talent and energy. And with $5,000, he did the same thing that these big people did, and they're excluding him.
All right, so it's basically mayor of New York, only finance oligarchs, plutocrats, and fat cats need apply. And if you're tired of that system, Credico is your man. The Tax Wall Street Party is the message. We got to wrap up now, Daniela.
Okay,
thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, make sure people go and they read his promises to New Yorkers so they can learn about him. Start learning about the issues. Thanks, Webster. We're going to get you back next week at this time to tell us about the triumphal submission of the petition signatures at the offices, because next Tuesday, that is going to be H-hour, right? That's D-Day when you deposit the signatures. All right, thank you so much. We'll be back next week on the Webster Tarpley program, Unbound Radio. Bye-bye, Webster.
Bye-bye.